Yeah, I've had the unfortunate pattern of getting with multiple people of this tri-type because I hate myself. And I'm trying to like do the impossible of getting some kind of juice out of a corpse that has no sexual instinct or ability to emote whatsoever. Yeah, I've had
What's that fetish of fucking dead people? Is that...
that's me.
Necrophilia.
That's me.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
The big hormone enneagram.
Let me lay it on the line. I got a little freakiness inside. Let you know that the man has got to deal with it.
Hi, I'm John Lukovich, sexual self-pres for the 5-wing 458 trifix.
Hi, I'm David Gray, self-pres sexual 9 with 1 974 trifix.
What up? It's Emeka. I'm an 8-wing-7, sexual self-pres with 854 fixes.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I am a self-pres social 3, wing 4, with a 369 trifix. If you like our podcast, guys, make sure you go like and subscribe us on the Apple Podcast app. And if you really like us, you should definitely leave us a review. Brian and I were talking this morning about how if Trump had just marketed his own mask that said MAGA on the front,
Oh my god.
we would be like basically like New Zealand at this point. Like we would be COVID free. It would be great. It would be a completely different America at this point. Everything would be fine.
I might start
Amazing.
promoting a MAGA mask.
Do it. Just I don't think it's copyrighted. Just print one out.
Yeah.
What was the last one we did? Was it the Chad?
Bermuda.
Oh, Bermuda.
So we got Kyle, Kylie, Flatlined, and American Psycho next.
All right.
American Psycho.
Welcome back to Big Hormone Enneagram, the only pro Kanye West 2020 Enneagram podcast. We are continuing our dive into the trifixations, and in the last call, which you should listen to before listening to this one, we go into detail about what that means, and the distinctions we're using, and how the terms that we're using to describe the trifixations are roast terms. So we stopped last time with 369, the Bermuda Triangle, and now we're going to 368, the Kyle or the Kylie.
Why did we pick the Kyle?
Tell us what a Kyle is.
Yeah, what is a
That
Kyle,
don't-
first
that
of all?
People that don't know.
David is
Kyle-
asking for himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
As
Does
the
somebody
old
else
guy,
want to go
the
for
old
this?
guy.
I mean, I don't know anything really about Kyle. That I missed that one.
All right, so a Kyle is like the stereotype of the Kyle is a guy that drinks a lot of Monster Energy drinks and chews tobacco and punches through walls and kind of like
Yeah.
it's the white guy
Oh.
that
I
doesn't
would
know
have
how
said
to.
Brad.
Sort of like a hothead.
It's like a hothead who doesn't know how to. He's got very primitive emotions that he uses very aggressively.
Yeah.
And there's this-
Oh, so
Yeah,
he's like
sort
the
of-
aggressive Chad.
Yeah, it's like an aggressive
Chaz
Chad,
that
but
people
not
don't like
cool.
as much. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's not
it's
cool.
like
Chad.
his own reactivity.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
not cool.
It's not cool. Like whereas the Chad is some self control,
Mm.
the Kyle has very little self control.
So
The
is it?
Kyle is the guy that you're afraid is going to roofie your drink at the bar.
Oh
Yeah.
God, is he the
Yeah.
guy with the gun at these rallies, like
Yeah.
pro
Yeah.
gun rally or something?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'd be the
he's one of
guy
those.
waving the gun sideways.
Oh,
Yeah.
Shit.
And
And-
in all of his tactical stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he's not like all just the white guy. Like he'll draw from kind of like black signifiers, black.
Oh,
culture,
yeah.
like backwards
Yeah, yeah.
hat and like a big hoodie or something.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
But kind of one of the ideas of the Kyle is that he's like, or the Kylie, is that they're ready to go off when they're pushed.
Don't forget, this is Trump's tri-type.
This is Trump. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
is
true.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that
yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Core 8, 3, 6. Yeah.
I was gonna say that I feel like the douchebag archetype is probably
Douchebag. This is douchebag.
archetype in the
Yeah.
sense that it's got like the cockiness, but there's the 6 adds this sort of needing to prove it, which
Needing-
has
That's
that has that chip on their shoulder.
Chip on the shoulder.
I
Big
feel
time.
like a lot of women that are anti-feminists are this tri-type.
That's a good one.
Well,
We're really gonna offend some
I-
people.
Yeah.
yeah.
This seems like Candace
But
Owens.
I've
Yeah.
met a lot of. Well, no, she's okay, yeah, she could be a 3, but
Yeah.
I was gonna say she's a little too clean cut, but she could be a 3. But
3, yeah.
I've just met a lot of like women that are, in Mechanicsville, the country areas of Virginia, that are totally this tri-type.
Yeah.
Well, so I think my brother and my sister are this tri-type.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lovely.
You are
And-
Kyle
That's beautiful.
adjacent.
And
Kyle and Kylie.
yeah, I'm the oldest of 4. My sister, one of my sisters, and my brother and I all have an 8 fix. And we
Yeah.
would fight constantly.
Hmm.
And like they would not be described in the way that like we're painting the Kylie archetype. They're not like, I'm ready to go for it, let's throw down. But they are both of them are very like my sister's a 3, but she's very reactive for a 3. She's very charismatic and like everybody likes her and whatever, but like if she's comfortable and able to kind of put away the 3, she's social 3. If the social 3 needing to be presentable goes down and she's triggered by something, she can be very confrontational. And there's just like a lot of push with the 2 reactive types plus the 2 assertive types.
This is, I think, the most competitive tri-type.
I can see that.
I can see
Like
that.
for example, sports are very competitive. Any professional athlete, you have to be really competitive to even be employed. Not much else like to be the top. So you look at like someone like Michael Jordan, who they just had a documentary about him and the Bulls that a lot of people watched, and you just realize how fucking psychopathically competitive that human being is. And not just him, but just like most major great athletes are competitive on a level you can't understand. And so 368 is really common for a lot of like type 3 athletes that are on top of their game, like Mayweather is another one that's 368, Michael Jordan. A lot of fighters have that combination of 6, 3, and 8, or just any 2 of those combinations. It's
Mike Tyson could be that combo.
Oh
of
yeah,
6.
I
Yeah.
agree with that too.
Yeah.
Like my sister is a 3, my brother's a 6, but what I've seen both of them is that there is like this make a big splash kind of energy, and there's a lot of like they're great people. Like they're not this stereotype. We're roasting people with these archetypes or whatever. Like they're not you wouldn't confuse them with what people normally refer to as a Kyle. But where there's that crossover and why that kind of those terms kind of makes some sense in a humorous way with them is like, yeah, they like make a big splash. They're like there is a competitive thing in both of them, but there's a weird mix of making a big splash, like at work, for example, but also being kind of nervous about like quitting the job or going their own way in some sense. Does that make sense? Like
yeah. Like I think part of why they're so competitive is the work ethic is there with 3 and 6.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these athletes that have 3, 6, and 8 in combination, you always hear like, hard work. And even Trump has this, just worker mentality of just needing to prove it through effort.
Whether he's doing it or not, it's that the self-image is hard worker.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of these douchebags that, are at clubs with bottle service that, you start talking to them, they want to talk to you about how fucking hard they work all week long. They earn this shit, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's
that 3-6 thing behind it is like makes a lot of sense for both my siblings, where it's like I'm like, you could be conquering the planet and you spent your time though being sort of devoted to something and working hard for something that I think is kind of dumb, or I mean, not dumb is too harsh. If they hear this, I'm gonna be in trouble, but like
you're already in trouble.
Yeah, I know.
Throughout your life.
But something that I think that they could do so much. They could really
use all that energy for something.
Use their energy and gifts in a way that's more. It's a cheesy word, but like self-blossoming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're really good at what they do, and like my brother is like a crazy fucking like mountain biking and climbing mountains and all that kind of stuff, and he's just like a real good outdoors person. For a long time, he was working a job that like didn't respect him and didn't treat him well. And I was like, why don't you just fucking quit? Like, just do something. And he finally did. But I mean, it's just that like weirdness of having this intense energy but at the same time nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And then we used to fist fight all the time, and so like that's kind of Kyle. Like we used to like one time he like opened my door, which is like the worst thing you can do. You know, like a 4 of the 5's door that you just open without
Sunlight.
knocking.
That's the-
Yeah. And I was like, and so I slammed the door closed, but he puts his foot in the way, and I couldn't close the door. And so then I open the door and I push him, and so he punches me in the face and chipped my tooth. And so we just had this fist fight, and like I ended up putting my him in like a headlock, and I ran his head through the wall, through the
My
drywall.
God.
So like whenever there's like a destruction of drywall, that's a Kyle.
There you go. That's a good marker.
A
there.
Kyle is involved.
Yeah, Kyle is
Yeah.
involved somewhere where drywall
Yeah.
gets destroyed.
Yeah.
That's funny.
All right.
All right, we should move on in case my
Yeah,
siblings are
we
listening to
should.
this and gonna start another family fight.
So
359.
flatlined.
Flatlined.
Why do we call it flatline?
359 flatlined.
Well, like each of these types are bypassing emotional expression. Like 9 is apathetic. I don't matter. I don't exist. 5 is detaching from their feelings in the moment, and 3 is bypassing their feelings in lieu of just getting stuff done. So even I think any 2 of these is enough of a blankness. It adds enough of a blankness to someone. So when you have the 3, it feels like a dead zone. Like there's nothing. You're not going to get any sort of fluctuations and much of a fluctuation in emotional expression.
Yeah. I was gonna say, anytime you have a 5 and a 9 together, I feel like you could call that flatline.
Already, yeah, alone.
Yeah.
just those 2.
Yeah.
My dad is a 5, but he's this tri-type, and so people listening might go, "Oh, well, I think I'm that type, but I'm very emotional," and like, so it's not saying that this type can't have emotion or something, but they really don't express it. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting because my dad is 5. He really doesn't seem like an emotional person, but then he especially now that he's a little older, can cry very easily when he's touched by something. So it's like he just seems like he's kind of sort of checked out and he's always busy. Like 5 and 9 and 3 are always somehow managed to make themselves busy or focused on something all the time.
Mhm.
But when he's not, like at family stuff, he can get kind of sentimental in a weird way. It's like the 3's heart and 9 heart kind of coming out or something.
Yeah, I've had the unfortunate pattern of getting with multiple people of this tri-type because I hate myself, and I'm trying to do the impossible of getting some kind of juice out of a corpse that has no sexual instinct or ability to emote whatsoever. Yeah, I've had.
What's that fetish of fucking dead people? Is that...
That's me.
Necrophilia.
That's me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. But yeah, it's I think I dated a 3 that had this tri-type, and it was interesting because it was a social 3 that had this tri-type, and it was just very involved but very distant in terms of several walls that I feel like just it was impossible to get through. And I've had some experience with 9s that have this tri-type, and yeah, it's just impossible in terms of penetrating, which is really cool for me.
And
Yeah.
yeah, sexual 8 is all like, "Hey, you gonna respond to me? Are you responding? Hey, is it affecting you? Is this energy affecting you? Are you are you in it?"
It's partly the masochism. I think there's a masochism with sexual instinct, and
Oh, yeah.
probably
Oh yeah, big time.
Not getting, I'm
Not
addicted to
getting.
not getting.
not
Like
getting
I need
Yeah.
people around me to stop me from killing myself with not getting.
right.
That's what my
There you
friends
go.
are there for. Just like
There you go.
you need to stop this problem that you have.
Any more to say on that one?
I don't know if there were any famous people to cite or anything like
Oh
that.
yeah. Let's not
Is
forget
David
about
Lynch?
that. No, he's David's tri-type.
Oh,
We-
right.
We think 974. Yeah.
Oh, Facebook guy. What's his face?
Mark
Oh,
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg.
That's a really good example because actually
Oh,
people
he's
call him a
terrifying.
robot.
Yeah.
People
Right.
call him a robot. Yeah.
Is he a 5?
No,
He's a 9.
Oh
9,
wow,
5,
he's a terrifying
Social 9.
9. Oh
Yeah.
god.
Well,
Um,
there's a terrifying 9. 3 and 5 is this like machine thing going
Right.
on, right? Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
For some cool examples, Brian Eno, who's one of the
That's a good
most interesting or
5
creative producers ever of all time, is a 5-wing 4 that has this tri-type.
Sting is, I think, an example of this. A 3
Mhm. Yes.
who's 359. Yeah.
FKA Twix, or anyone who knows her,
Oh yeah.
she's another one. But yeah, those are
What's
some
her main
celebrity- She's a 9. I think
Okay.
initially we thought she might be 4, but
Yeah.
that was one of the corrections we made a couple years back.
All right.
That's it.
We got 358 American Psycho.
Who wants
So
to do this one?
before we get into what this one is, I have repeatedly seen people on the internet who think that they are some kind of Machiavellian dark triad, anime boss villain character. Identifies this one. They're usually not this one, but they're like, all right, I'm like the aggressive, assertive, behind the scenes puppet master. That must be 5 and 8 and 3. And a lot of talking up their own badassery by references.
Whenever you see someone doing that, because guess what? The most non-Machiavellian thing you could do is to go online and tell people that you are a Machiavellian.
On
Right.
Facebook.
Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
The devil is never going to tell you that he's the devil. Are you come on?
99% of the people that say they're this are not this because they're coming from the
100%.
point of view of,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not as useless and, in my own imagination or whatever as 458. So I
So
must
this must be
be
it.
358.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. On the list of tri-types, this is the next Chad tri-type, the one that people want.
Yeah.
Usually guys, usually men.
Yeah, usually men. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always white guys
Okay. Yeah.
that are
A
a,
lot
little
of
too short.
Kyles.
A lot of Kyles. Yeah.
Short white guys, chody guys.
Yes. this tri-type has very small dick energy. If you identify with this, you're telling everyone that you have very small dick.
Yeah. No, this tri-type doesn't. But the people that think they're this tri-type does
That's
have
it.
small
There
dick.
you go.
Exactly,
There you go.
yeah.
So yeah, what would you guys say about why it's called American Psycho?
Well, it's got that 8 energy that's kind of can get a lot done, but it has the 5 withdrawnness and the 3 mask. So it can smile to your face and then slit your throat and then hide your body because it's done enough research to know where your body can be hidden.
There's
It's like
sort of a heartlessness on
Yeah,
all
exactly.
3 of these. All
Mhm.
3 types. Yeah.
Hmm.
And this type can be very friendly, but it's I think people who experience people of this type can feel whoa, it's a whole lot of energy coming at me, but it's not very personal. Even if it's
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
you got the 8 and the 3, 2 aggressive types, and 5 when it's supported by 2 aggressive types can be very out there. Can have a lot of energy.
Yep.
And as a rejection type, so you got 2 rejection types, so it's a lot of information and engagement, and here's this, and it's enthusiasm and this kind of thing, and there's 3's got the enthusiasm, but it can feel like there's not a lot of heart in it.
Reptilian is a good word, I think.
Right.
I think Putin is a good example of this, a core 8 who's
Yeah.
this.
There's a
I
lot
can
of
see
cool
that.
Yeah.
examples. I feel like we've discussed this before, but a lot of 5s who end up becoming frontmen of these bands end up having these double assertive
Yeah.
fixes.
Thinking
for
Tom
example-
York,
Yeah,
for
Tom
example,
York
5
has
with a 4.
Yeah, has 3 and 8 fixes. Bill Gates is an example of a 5
Yep.
who's doesn't seem like it in interviews when you're watching how kind of Kermit the Frog he can be.
He's not
But-
flatline.
He's extremely aggressive.
Yeah, when you read about it, if you read about the behind the scenes, he's actually really
He's
aggressive.
a monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you've also heard about Stanley Kubrick behind the scenes,
Oh,
and
yeah,
what
yeah.
kind of a monster he
That
can
makes
be,
sense.
Yep.
even though you watch him and he does, if you watch interviews of him, there's he feels like a corpse in terms of there's no sort of emotion, but he is extremely aggressive.
Makes sense that film directors that are 5s would have those 8 and 3 fixes.
Intense, imposing vision.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
extremely. But it's just also just sort of the psychopathic kind of psychological terrorism he
True.
put his actors through just to kind of get them to the point where they would channel through these lines. And who else could we say? Robert Greene, the guy who wrote 48 Laws of Power, Art of Seduction, a lot of these books that people feel are psychopathic, I believe has these fixes as well, 5, 3, and 8. And you know what? Christian Bale, the guy who actually played the
yeah.
American Psycho, is this tri-type.
That
Yeah,
makes
that
sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, he's great. Core 3.
Yeah.
He's core
Yeah,
3,
for
but he's
sure.
also social last, self-pressed sexual.
Yeah,
Core
yeah,
3.
Okay. Makes sense.
Bruce Lee has this tri-type, and he's
That makes sense.
8 wing 7, but he's got 5 fix, and he's also got the 3 fix self-improvement coach kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe Bryant has this tri-type.
That makes sense.
Anyway, that's enough.
David's just gonna sit in the background and tell us so we make sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. I'm the philosopher of the universe.
Anyway,
All right. Now we're going to a whole nother realm with
The
the
twos.
Hippie Burnout 279.
Oh,
Triple
man.
positive outlook type.
It's a jarring switch.
yeah.
This is hippie is right on, because like I don't know anybody of this tri-type that isn't either kind of like hippie if they're more social, or kind of like more like saccharine. Am I saying that word right?
Yeah.
Like if they've got more like a self-pres homey thing, it's just like so sweet. Yeah, there's just this hippie, loosey kind of like things are gonna work out sort of attitude. And I had a yoga teacher that was this, and it's just so alien to like how I think that it was sort of great to watch her. She was a core 9 and just had this.
You know
this-
what? Like
Huh.
a yoga teacher would be an alternate name for this.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No, she was in her fucking element. She was like, "All right, I want you to hold your hands to your heart and smile." You know, this kind of stuff.
God.
And it was like so bad that I loved it. You know.
I have a ex friend that is this tri-type. I think she was 7 or 7.
Why X? Is it because of the tri-type?
Well, possibly. I don't.
So-
It's just, we had just had a falling out, but yeah, it was. She was so like love the world and La La Land. It was a little rough. The first thing she posted about the Black Lives Matter movement is, why can't we all just get along?
Oh my
Wow.
god.
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah. Wow. These types can just be so naive, but like there's a certain aggression to their naivete.
Yeah.
It's like.
Like
They're-
you have to be naive with me.
Yeah, like and because like 2
Mm.
is very imposing without looking like it's imposing, and
That's
so
right.
is 7. And
Yep.
7's very get what I want, and then 9 is going to kind of dissociate to hold its own boundary. And so this type can seem like really harmless and sweet, but they can be kind of like really like reinforcing the positivity, and there's no reactive type in it, so it's like it can feel inauthentic. So I've seen
Yeah.
people of this type be typed as a 3.
Mhm.
But it's people not understanding like how 3 image issues come up versus other types, because you know it's like there's no getting around their positivity defenses.
I feel like the new age movement is this
Oh yeah,
tri-type.
totally.
Yeah.
Is,
And like
you know,
negativity is like the worst
Completely.
thing you can do.
mhm.
Yeah,
And
negative, like has lower vibrations that literally kill you.
right.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
feel like, the inner work, the overlay, as we've discussed before, the overlay of inner work and self-help communities and online especially, is this expectation that everything is moving to a place of greater positivity and growth, and that we're all supposed to like, be positive and not say anything negative, or it's not health. This isn't healthy. Our energy is in stark contrast to this
Yeah.
hippie burnout stuff, and which is what you find a lot online with Enneagram groups and so forth.
Well, and one of the things that's really like they have a lot of dismissive techniques to not deal with things, and so
Mhm.
like if you're negative, like or you go through a negative experience, instead of just being with the negative, it'll be like you had to have that to learn something, like
Yeah.
Mhm.
which I think can be really toxic. And
Everything
Right.
happens for a reason.
Oh, God, I
Yeah.
hate that saying, by the way. That's the worst saying.
And I've seen a lot of people of this tri-type, because they'll lack the competency types and they'll lack the reactive types. And, they got 9 and 2 and 7, which can all get really buoyant kind of in the clouds. It's like they'll get into that new age shit where it's like, we're actually Pleiadians or from the Pleiades, like transmissions from higher beings to other things. And, my Merkaba is taking me back to our home planet or, whatever.
So that's the danger of this tri-type, is that you take positivity to a point where it's almost like harmful.
Deadly.
All right, what do we got next?
Smothering
Just
Jazz
one celebrity
Hands.
example for 279 that I think people might like is Jeff Goldblum.
Oh,
That
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
There's
I
some
saw-
not allegations, but if you've ever watched any interviews of him, he's kind of like weird, creepy, but it's just covered in so much positive goo that this is someone who knows that they get away with it all the time. You know, like they would just feel you up and you might feel like it was supposed to happen.
There's a bunch of clips of him on Conan O'Brien, and he's straight, but he's creeping on Conan. And it's really funny because Conan's a 6, and so just all of his reactions and stuff to Jeff being super sensual and touchy feely.
David, you type Goldblum is a core 9, right?
Yeah.
I came away feeling like he was a core 2 from those clips because he has no self-censorship around invading Conan's space. He reminds me a lot of some 2s I know, like some social 2s. And he's got that kind of imagey thing where he's got like a lot of those rings on his finger. And
sure.
He's got
some of that's his stacking too, though.
Yeah, it's social sexual.
Yeah.
But it's part of what makes him 9 is that if you're watching him, his whole thing that he does feels like a dissociation to me. It's like he has a hard time finding the words. It's like kind of just all body central. He has a routine, if that makes any sense. He's going around in a circle.
Yeah. There is a lot of apologizing too, like not literal apologizing, but sort of like no, I didn't mean that kind of stuff, or whatever. That felt more 4 or 9 to me.
Yeah, I hear that. I could see that being 2 though, especially a male 2. Like it was just that touchy, feely, sweetness kind. That kind of. That's what hit me really strong in this clip. Anyway, next. We have 278 Smothering Jazz Hands.
Yes, this is my favorite one. Not my favorite tri-type, but one of my favorite names.
Characters, yeah.
Yeah. Where did this come from? I got a picture. Just Jazz Hands is kind of a ridiculous picture, first of all, and it's just this picture of someone who's overly cheerful and exuberant, and you picture like 7'2", like like the hands, and then the next thing I see is this person is choking you to death at the hospital because those 2 things together is what I think my mother has. This tri-type is this person who is so exuberant and forceful and wants to help you, but ends up probably unintentionally hurting you, or if they do hurt you or mess things up, they can't really own the impact of what they're doing because of their exuberance and good intentions. And so this is a forceful personality that is exuberant, but can, because of the 8 and the 7 together, can end up messing things up, but not really owning it.
So can be like a helper that's really self-interested.
Yes. I mean, like we had, for example, we had our resident 278 on the pod. One of the clips that I used for the episode was where she said that she couldn't own any bad intentions that she had, even though she knows they exist. Like that's just a feature of her personality, and I found that was interesting.
Sienna, who was on the 8 call, is this, and Sienna, I love you, baby. But so I know her from high school, and there was a time when she was visiting, and she's just lots of energy, and it's the 7, the 8, and the 2 all can have this sort of invading your space deal, but it's like they're so positive and charming that it's like they kind of get away with it a lot. And so I used to be even more withdrawn and drained by people than I am now. And like I remember we spent like a day together, and I was at Colleen, who was on the 7 call, Colleen's house with Sienna, and I was at this point where I was like literally shutting down. I was so overwhelmed and overstimulated with people, and I remember like I had something like my head down, or I was sitting in a chair, but my head was like down, like I'm looking totally at my lap because I'm just falling apart energetically. And then Sienna goes, "John, what's wrong?" And she sticks her head like between my head and my lap so that she could like like looking up, like and one of the original names that like I was playing with this was something about I can't remember, something about salivating or something. And and like Sienna has this, like one of her jokes that she salivates a lot. And there's just this sort of this like the world's like sort of juicy, and I'm interested in exploring it and trying it and tasting it, and there's just this abundance of energy in all 3 of those types.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For people, just getting into people's stuff, into people's grill.
Yeah. Those are spark plugs in each center, all 3 of those.
Yeah.
Some celebrities that might be this tight. Let me see what I got. Ooh, I think Frank Sinatra and Bono are 8s.
Bono,
with this tri-type.
yeah, Bono, that makes sense. Bono's a big love talking 8.
Yes. What we got next? Stockholm Syndrome 269. My favorite, or one of my favorites.
Oh, you'd love Brian then.
Every useless beast needs Stockholm Syndrome.
Stockholm Syndrome was named by someone of this tri-type. So it is
Yes.
you know,
A certain
It's
tiny
approved.
savage.
Tiny Savage named this, christened this. And what would you all say about why they're called Stockholm Syndrome?
Well, I guess everyone knows the basic definition of Stockholm Syndrome is you befriend your captor, and so there's a quality. There's a quality about this tri-type. It's sort of designed around what would you call it? I don't know.
Taking abuse.
Taking abuse, service.
Yes.
Like you're not you're not. I don't know. You're anti self-interest, right? So it's the perfect anti self-interest type, which is the perfect captive, right?
Oh yeah, all 3 are pretty anti self-interest. I didn't
Right.
realize
Yeah.
that.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's a perfect
and-
slave.
And
Yeah.
so people with Stockholm Syndrome can get caught up in kind of maintaining relationships and dynamics that may not necessarily be good for them, but there is this feeling of I need to both put aside my personal feelings and do what's right or what's good. They got 2 superego types with 6 and 2, and then they've got 9, which that in itself has like kind of super ego-y things to it, where there's this sense of I need to sort of suppress or tone down my external emotional reactions and things like that. And the dissociation of 9 plus the double attachment of 6 and 9 just makes for somebody that was like gets very enmeshed in other people.
Yeah. That the other idea I have around this tri-type is empath, right?
Yeah.
And then you take it to Stockholm Syndrome. It's like so empathic that even with their captor, they're empathic, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
So they start to get on the side of the Anyway,
Each of these types are the most self-sacrificial in each center.
that's
Yes.
So whenever you have 9 and 2 in a tri-type, or trifix, that's enough self-sacrificial stuff right there for someone to, compromise themselves. And when you put 2, 6, and 9 together, it's like David said, befriending your enemy. And I've seen that pattern happen multiple times. Like this person fucked up your life, and now you're like laying out the carpet for them to return. Like that kind of a thing. So,
I call it on my website. I call them the sacrificial lamb.
there you go.
Yeah, big lamb energy.
So some of us more selfish, sadistic, and predatory tri-types need our Stockholm syndromes to balance this out.
Yeah, definitely.
Balance this out is a nice
Soft,
way of
fluffy sheep.
putting it.
Syndrome is just such a good name for this tri-type. It's so.
We need punching bags in the world.
It sounds like we're being a little callous with this type, but I just love the self-own that Cassandra made for this. I just love it.
Yeah.
Anything else about this, or any famous people or whatever?
From a celebrity impression that people might have who've seen this guy in several movies, as a character actor, William H. Macy.
Oh yeah.
He plays. He's a 6 in a lot of movies, and I believe he has this He has a very self-sacrificial, pathetic vibe. Just looking at his face, you don't even have to hear any words. William H. Macy. He's
the guy from Shameless.
Shameless.
Yeah, just his face feels that way.
It does, yeah.
That character in Fargo was probably that same.
Exactly.
tri-type, is why everybody resonated with him on that one.
Oh, I
Yeah.
bet the fucking Midwest is full of Stockholm Syndrome.
Tons. Yeah.
In Bermuda,
Yeah.
this is a Bermuda and Stockholm syndrome. Central.
I think a lot of military people are this, and so it's like literally
could see
leading
that.
the lambs into slaughter.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
rough.
Yeah, oof! It's a big oof.
Jeez. Just gonna say I love my little cap and slave.
Your boy is
Yeah.
Stockholm.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
How is a Bermuda and Stockholm? How is that? What's that dynamic?
We have a lot of, well, what do you want? Well, is that what you want? What do you want? What do you want for dinner? Okay, that's fine. We have a lot of that.
Do you
There's a
torment
lot
him?
going on. Not as much as I could, but we're only 2 years in, so.
Can you please amp up the torment?
No thanks.
You have a Stockholm Syndrome. You gotta work
use
that.
His job is where the torment comes from. Yeah.
Let's
So
just
once
be
he
a
quits, that, then I'll torment him. It'll be
Okay,
great.
good. All right, you have a duty. All right.
We got our favorite one coming up next.
Next up, we got 2, 6, 8, and we call this "I Want Her to Fly." You got 8 and 6, which are 2 reactive types. You have 8 and 2, which are 2 rejection types, and then 2 and 6, which are 2 superego types. And so this type has a big impact, but they consistently have a hard time seeing their impact because there's a lot of superego that interferes with a lot of that expansive 8ness. And so a lot of their 8ness gets translated through a more superego filter like justice or causes or something. There's a sort of a way that 8 energy has to be rendered acceptable in some way, and often relational, because that 2 and 6 really both have a strong relational component. And so but we call it "I Want Her to Fly" because they have a lot of power, but there's this self-image of not being as powerful as they are,
or being on the side of good only.
Yes. A lot of
that,
that 8 energy just getting filtered through a lot of superego stuff, whereas a lot of times 8 is associated with being super individualistic and kind of selfish.
Yeah.
That expansiveness, it's filtered through a superego point of view.
Yeah, my sister has this tri-type, and she initially had a hard time identifying with an 8, even though she's an 8 wing 9, and just 8 descriptions generally are painted not good. And she has a self-image of herself as having good intentions, that she got into healthcare. When we were younger, I thought we were similar. I mean, because we're both 8s, but the older we got, the more it was pretty clear that we're pretty different because of the direction that she kind of went and what motivated her. And she wants to be involved in making people's lives better. She gets a lot of fulfillment in working in something that can do that, and I don't. So that's a huge difference. That's a huge difference between her and I.
I have a friend, a really good friend's girlfriend is this type, and she just has a big impact on people. But often she sees herself in a victim role.
Oh yeah, that's another part of this. Yeah.
Which is something that you don't normally associate with 8.
Yes.
So like on that side, there's like she's willing to and goes to a victim place fairly quickly for what you'd like the counters the 8 energy. And I couldn't tell if she was a 6 or an 8 for a long time. But I lean now towards 8. But on the other side, like this type, I could see them being really good coaches and supports for other people because they've got that engine behind these 2 service-oriented types.
A good example of that is, I think, Dr. Phil is a 2.
Oh, yeah.
This type,
yeah.
2, 8, with a secondary 8 fix, 8 and 6. Yeah. It's kind of, one way to say it also is it's like triple parent, right? Those are parenting types. 2 is mother, 8's father, and 6 is like authority, yada, yada.
Yeah. I can't recall if we typed Bill Cosby's this tri-type or not, just to really piss off anyone who's
that
too
sounds
fixated.
likely.
Could be, yeah.
I was going to say 2 kind of pretty creepy men right there.
Yeah. Dr. Phil and Bill Cosby.
I feel like Dr. Phil probably kisses kids on the lips.
Yeah, 2 energy on men is not something I'm comfortable with.
It's really bizarre.
Yeah.
But it's just a dichotomy of that sort of feminine energy, because 2 energy is feminine regardless of the gender. To see that coming from a man is you don't expect it. Just like 8 energy, women that have 8 energy tend to seem more masculine than not. So
it's not just the femininity though; it's the boundary crossing.
Yes.
Like the feeling liberty to, or like not seeing how other men hold boundaries with each other.
Yeah.
So willing to like touch and rub your back and stuff like this. And most of the time when men are ignoring boundaries, it's for a sexual purpose. And
That's
so when a guy, male 2, is doing that, but it's not sexual, it's you're like, is this sexual?
Yeah. It's like, why are you touching me right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and they'll be like the hand on your stomach and talking in your face, kind of touching.
Oh, I've had direct experience with that.
Oh yeah,
as you guys
I
all
have
know.
too. Yeah.
No, I mean the only man who's ever kissed me on the lips was a male too. Just gave me a peck, just like
What?
Yeah, it's hilarious. So,
So 259, we changed the name. Remember?
that's right. That's right.
It's I think I sent it.
The
It's
Spineless Saint.
259 Spineless Saint.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
So 259, the Spineless Saint. And so you've got 2 positive outlook types, 2 and 9. You got 2 withdrawn types, 5 and 9, and you've got 2 rejection types in 2 and 5. And so what you get is somebody that is relatively conflict avoidant, but they want to be of help or service, and they've got a lot of information to give you, and they've got a lot of good feelings towards you. But they don't want to get too messy or too in the that withdrawnness keeps them from getting too involved in a certain way. And so there's this sort of like I like to be removed and good, and sort of there's this like saintliness that happens between the 9 and like kind of a little bit sage, like guru sage, but like a sort of a removed sweetness that they have.
I think of a monastery. It's almost like creating an atmosphere of a sanctuary, and that's part of the removedness of it, is that it's sort of creating a vibe but not getting involved. It's creating an environment, so to speak, but not digging in on the personal involvement. That makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah, the alternate name before we came up with Spineless Saint was Philosopher of the Universe, and I just, whenever I think of this tri-type or trifix, I think of Eckhart Tolle. I believe he's a 5, and I think he has this trifix. And I also think of Mr. Rogers, who for a long time, like, people don't know this about him, but he would go to Congress or the Senate and really advocate for children and children's teaching, different teaching methods for kids that he felt were better. And he got some stuff passed, but he's very kind of removed, but really gentle, caring kind of character.
Yeah, it is a very gentle combination, generally speaking, at least when you don't get really close with them. But like the 2 rejection types, there's a lot of energy behind that. So sometimes the remoteness can be a little deceiving. You sort of get beyond a certain level of closeness or whatever, and then it's like a lot of energy to deal with. In addition, if like 5 is the main type, this is the warmest 5, the sweetest 5.
True.
In a very normally negative type. And if this is like a 9, it's like a 9 that really wants to help you, but but not do things for you, help you, but like mentorship.
Either for
mentorship. Yeah, mentorship is a good way to put it, but removed.
Yeah. Any famous examples?
Let's see. Besides
Eckhart.
Tolle, Mr. Rogers.
No, those are pretty good.
I think we have Einstein here, but I don't know if he's. I think
he's either this or 953.
Yeah. Jane Goodall. Anybody know her?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That's a good
great
one,
example.
actually. That's really good. I mean, that really is the sanctuary vibe right there.
All right. Next.
All right. So for this call, we have 258. We call it Cult Classic with an emphasis on cult. This, I think, was the hardest for us to come up with a name for.
Yeah.
Well, why do we call it Cult Classic? Anybody want to go for this?
Yeah,
I wasn't in on this.
Yeah, I'm actually interested to hear this description because I don't know.
So
I think it had something to do. Go ahead, John. I think maybe you remember.
What I recall is that you got all 3 rejection types.
Yeah.
And so there's this. In rejection, there's a little bit of my direct needs are either unimportant or I being myself. Like I can't just be myself. I have to offer something, and I offer whatever is the dominant quality of my center. And so this type has a lot of energy to give you things, to give you influence or help or whatever. It will do a lot for you. The 2 and the 8, of course, it's like a lot of offering energy. Like it can almost get kind of mafia boss feeling. And then with the 5 there, you get the intellect to back it up and a little bit of private remoteness. So like you don't always know where they're coming from or what their ultimate aim is. Like They're not their heart's not on their sleeve. It's like there's something hidden still and mysterious, even if they're very involved with you.
And what I think the 5 really speaks to the cultness of this trifix, in that what they're offering is not, it's something that's specified and not easy to find. So it's going to have, it's not going to be like a generalized offering. It's going to be a new discovery or a specific discovery. So it's not going to be for everyone, but it's something that a very small select people are going to really appreciate.
And they can really have a lot of influence over you too.
Yeah, cult stuff.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I like one of the names I've got for them is the abstinent participant. So it's like they're giving you something, but they're not going to participate in what they're giving you. You know what I mean? They're they're giving you these kind of solemn offerings, but they're not, you know, expecting to participate in it in a way, if that makes sense. They're not going to be involved.
Yeah,
because it's triple rejection, right? So, like, I'm not included in this, but here you go, take it.
David, you have some experience with this trifix, right?
I had a super intense relationship with a sexual social 8 with a 7 who was this tri-type, and she was incredibly private person. As you might imagine, that's one way, I guess, triple rejection happens, shows up, right? Is probably the most private person I think you could ever meet, literally. I mean, she was literally living in Siberia at the time, teaching English in some obscure
Sorry, that
town.
sounded like a joke.
Yeah, no, it was literally what was happening, and it was like a torture to even try to meet her or even see her face. I mean, we had a relationship where we were talking online just through, you know, text messaging for 6 hours a day and stuff for 10 months.
Wow.
And anyway, there's a quality about it, just to kind of pull out of the personal a little bit, but it's very sort of devotional. It's, you know what I mean? If that makes sense. It's almost, I don't know what you'd call it, but it's a certain kind of reverence, but it's also that, again, it's that thing of sort of, I'm not included, I'm automatically rejected, but I'm giving you these offerings. You know, she's actually the person that started everybody doing collages on the old Riso Hudson discussion board. Yeah, that's her. So that led into a lot of that stuff, and it was not for the purpose of typing, by the way. That was just although people would make observations along those lines, but anyway, she was one of the main Kickstarters. So there's the cult classic right there. She's the one that started that cult.
So a good celebrity example, I believe, is this trifix is Wilhelm Reich. The sexual social 8, who a lot of people credit for the sexual revolution of the 60s, the things he wrote and all the research he did into sexuality. And he got in a lot of trouble because he'd crossed a lot of boundaries with his students or patients. Like, he was doing a lot of hands-on treatment of people's sexual dysfunctions and things like that. So
he believed that that basically, and he's not wrong, that the personality is reinforced in the body through unconscious but deeply held tension patterns that he called armoring. And he thought that one of the primary mechanisms for dealing with or working through this tension, and not just the tension itself, but also regulating the emotional life, which regulates or like gives space to thoughts and thinking and then behavior, was through having really deep orgasm. And he called it orgon energy. And he believed that modern people, because of their whole way their nervous system works and our ignorance around our bodies and our weird sexual habits, had deeply repressed or minimal orgasm. And so he just like made everybody insane at the time in like the 1950s, because he was like, yeah, women should fuck and they should come. You know?
And so like women would come over to his clinic or whatever the fuck, and he would have devices and things to give women really deep orgasms. So it's like you could get in trouble. I mean, this guy did not give a fuck. He was just doing this shit and crossing those boundaries with his patients. And he eventually was imprisoned for the organ devices that he created. I fucking care.
I wonder if Freud might have been this as a core 5 with 8 and 2, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
That's very possible. Yeah.
Yeah, similar kind of thing, right? Where everything's about sex.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's sort of like the two thing of wanting to, like, reading up about William Reich. I just was struck by how much he wanted to be involved in the betterment of people's function, and that felt very 2-ish for me from an 8 perspective of like hands-on. I want you to come in, and I'm going to help you achieve this deep orgasm that's going to actually unlock something for you psychologically. And Freud probably is along those same lines for me.
Come in and come.
Come in and come. And I think Freud was sexual blind, and just an interesting outlet for his blind spot. It's so, because it's like it's very there, but it's also very remote in a certain way.
Yeah.
Integrating sex, and like a lot of people that criticize or make jokes about Freud, like Freud has a lot of problems, but like he was like real fucking pioneer in I mean, the whole sense of the realm of the unconscious. Like people didn't think about that shit, and that is so like just that we're run by drives. And the reason he chose sex, in theory at least, is like because your thoughts can get you sexually excited, so it was a link between body and mind. But anyway, just like a really interesting example of Freud just as a person and character and personality.
And 5 with 2 and 8 are boundary crossers, right?
Yes.
Right.
You got the remote 5, but with those fixes, it's interesting.
Yeah, they're gonna cross your boundaries with some weird shit. That's what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
I know you guys don't like The Office, but I feel like there's a character on The Office that was this type.
We don't talk about The Office
or Harry Potter.
Sorry. In case you ever want to know, it's Robert California. He was the CEO for a while in The Office, and it was. I think he's totally this type, or portrayed as this type.
Is that the guy with the kind of bug eyes?
They all kind of have bug eyes. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Our listeners who are big fans of The Office will I'm sure, know exactly what you're talking
Yes.
Our listeners who are big fans of The Office should stop listening to this.
Don't
Why are you
to John?
And turn off Harry Potter.
Yeah.
One of our listeners is a huge Harry Potter fan. So I just want to say.
One.
They're not going to be fans for long.
She listened to one of the podcasts, and she hung out with me the next day. She's like, "What the heck? They don't like Harry Potter." I was like, "Look, it's not me. It's just."
I live for that, baby. I live for the reaction. Cool. Yeah. All right. So next time, we've got like 9 more, something.
Yeah.
And we should get all done. All with the ones.
All with the one fixes.
If I back it up, is it fat enough? When I throw it back, is it fast enough? If I speed it up, can you handle that? You ain't ready for this work now. Watch me throw it back, throw it back, throw it back, throw it back. From the back.